Well, again, thank you so much for joining us today for this webinar. And I'm here to start. My name is Abbie, as you might know and might have heard about me earlier. So I'm just going to talk to you about how you could be doing well in your visa interview this time. So, the perks of today's overview is what we're going to talk about, and you could see this on your screen. Okay, so what are we going to talk about? What is the student visa? Preparing to apply for an F1 student visa, a Section 214B of the U.S. Immigration and Nationality Act, the article from the U.S. Embassy website, student exchange visitor program, the recommended documents to take to the visa interview, visa question and the answer, port of entry, and visa tips. So I again seeing that students are coming in, but I just want to give it a kickstart because I'm gonna complete this in the next 25 minutes today. So we're gonna wrapping up sooner. I want you guys to listen to it very carefully. Right after 25 minutes, I'm going to take your your questions. So do not shy putting your questions because I understand that you're going for the visa interview and you're going for the visa interview probably in this month or it could be in the next month. Honestly, you really got to understand this, that how you could do well at your visa interview. So what the requirement is and how you could get it is something that I'm going to explain you here today. Okay, so certainly you're going for the F1 visa, which is an academic visa. Okay, so in order to get into the United States, you really need an I-20. You got an I-20, or probably you're waiting for the I-20 and probably gonna get the I-20 pretty soon. I'm here to just give you this information. I'm here to give you the information about, even if you have an I-20, you cannot travel to the US until you have a visa. For visa, you gotta go to one of the consulate in India to appear for the interview where visa officer asks you about many things. So before you go, you gotta make sure that you know that which visa are you going on. So F1 visa, that's an academic visa, okay? So you're going on an F1 academic visa. So there are two type of classification. So the one which comes under the H1 is going to be a kind of permanent working visa that you intend to stay there for the longer period of time. The temporary visa is when you go on travel or probably on a business trip or on a student visa. So your visa is the F1 visa, and F1 visa is the temporary visa. What I mean by the temporary visa, that you go United States for your higher education and you come back after you study in the US. Why you want to come back, or why the visa regulations are that you gotta come back? Because it asks you to return back home because you have applied for the F1 student visa, which is a temporary visa. So now when you know this, that you are going for temporary visa, that means that the visa regulation, the visa law, the visa requirement is that you show to the visa officer that you are going for the temp visa. I mean, that's for a primary temporary reason. It could be for staying there in the US for the 2 to 3 years and then come back home. You gotta prove something which proves that you would be coming back home. Reason being, you have applied for the temporary visa, which is student visa. So now when you know that you are applying for a temporary visa, what you should know when you talk to the visa officer, even there could not be any question, it could be any question which you could talk about. Okay, you could just tell this to the visa officer. They can expect this from you, that what four things which you should have. That's that, are you an honest student? Are you a serious student? Do you have the sufficient funding to show that you have sufficient funding that your parents or you yourself can take care of your expenses there? The two major expenses are your tuition fee, and the other expense is that you are going to live there, so that the tuition fee and the living expenses. So you talk about it. The most important is you are going on a temporary visa, that the student have sufficient ties to the home country, and the ties could be family, economic, employment, social, and emotional ties. Okay, so how, why the honesty, why they expect you to be honest with them? Because that's one of the thing in their tradition, in their law, is like they expect everybody to talk truth. So whenever you feel like that a visa official think that you, whatever you're telling them, whatever documents you're showing them, if you're talking to them about the funding, if you're talking to them about the finance documents, everything is you are producing or talking to the visa officer is correct. They are not there to listen from you or getting you caught by showing some fake documents, a fake commitment, hiding something, not telling them the truth. You won't get it. And if you give them a false statement, a false document, your visa could be denied permanently. Why this? Because they expect you to be the truth. Because in the US, the law, the culture is that you gotta be truthful to each other. So that's one thing which you really need to think of. Okay. Now, second thing, when you talk about that, if you're a serious student, why seriousness? Because they really want to know this, that if you have a clear intention of studying in the US. Why is this? Because they really want to make sure that if a student is going on a student visa, then you should be serious about studying in the US. So why, how this come in the picture? When the visa officer realized that somebody intend to work are going on a student visa, somebody wants to go to stay in the US for a couple of years because somebody has coming from an affluent family, have great things, many thousand of dollars in the family's background. They want to roam around Florida, New York, but the right visa is for them is for B visa. For working you have H visa. For other purpose you have some other visa. If you are going on a student visa, then you should really have a good marks, good English skills, sufficient resources to pay your funds, and then you really need to talk about that what are you going to get in your country. Now, how a serious student can be evaluated. So students, when you are going to your any any university, you should really know everything about that university. Even a person who signed your I-20. So you expect a visa officer to give you the visa, but the reality is that you even do not know that who is the contact person at the university. How many credits am I going to study there? Do you really know about the location of the university? Who could be the professor who's going to teach you there? So the question is, if you could really understand this, that it just that a visa officer is trying to ask you 5 to 7 questions, and he wants to know this. If you could really show the visa officer that you know exactly about where you're going, what you're going to do, if you're spending 20 to 25,000 dollars in your tuition fee, 20 and 25, another $1,000 for the living expense. What you going to get? So you really need to know everything about the university, everything about the location, the state. If you're going to California, no, California comes in the western part. In this, I have a great. How many international students are studying in California? Which are the biggest city you have in California? Why California is famous for stuff like that. Third thing is that you got to talk about the sufficient funding. So students, it does not charities going on that you feel like if you do not have the sufficient funding, you could even be getting the visas. One of the common thing where most of the students visa got denial is just because they don't have the sufficient funding. Now, what are the parameters to check that whether you have a sufficient funding or not? So honestly, once you have the I-20, or even if you do not have the I-20, you know that the tuition fee is going to be $20,000, and you also know that the tuition fee plus living expense is going to be another $10,000, and the fee, insurance, and everything is gonna be $5,000. Overall, you gotta pay $35,000. With this $35,000, if you multiply it by two, that's $70,000. That's for entire 2 years of stay, 2 years of living expense, 2 years of books, 2 years of any additional things. So you have $70,000. You show that $70,000 to the visa officer. There could not be any reason of rejection just because of sufficient funding. Now, for some students, whatever is the written over the I-20, you multiply by 2, it coming on $90,000. Now, you really cannot show them $90,000, but you could still show them $60,000. Then how you can bring $30,000? Well, you could still show that your parents or your sponsor is working, and if he is working, he is earning this much of dollars in year every year. So if you say that, well, the cost of 2 years is 90,000, but I got 60,000 with me right now, and then my dad, who is making 11 lakh per annum, is going to pay the remaining $30,000. Because honestly, everybody pay in the US is by the courses, every quarter, every term, or every semester. Okay? Now, most important, because in my initial slide, I did talk to you about that you should really talk about your coming back plans. Why? Because you are going to come back, because your visa's requirement is that you're going to come back. Now, how it could show that you have a strong ties when you talk about your family, economic, employment, social, and emotional ties. So, family, social, and emotional ties, we have people, we have culture, we have family, we have our friends, we have our school or college where we studied, we know people, we love people. So you could talk about it when it comes to the economic and employment ties. So our goal is that when we do our MBA, MS, MIS, MSCS, the goal is to become something. When you really want to become something, you do get your higher education in the US. In India, how the employers are going to welcome, in what way? If you know this, you talk about it and specifically talk about it. That's it. But it just to show them the ties. But it you do not even get a visa if you show them a ties. There is a difference. There is a difference between showing a tie versus showing a strong ties. So now how it could be a strong ties when you really talk about something which is very specific. So some says, I have a family and I'll come back. That's an example of a tie. But I've got my mother and father, and I'm the only son, or probably I've got an elder sister who got married, and I am the one who gonna take care of it. That's how you get it. That's a strong ties. So if anybody who is not able to show them the ties or specific ties, your visa could be denial under the section 214B. And many of you, if you have ever attended the visa interview, do you think the 214B is the only for the F students visa? No. Even anybody who is going on a temporary visa, even it could be a B or B1, B2, you still get a visa denial under 214B. Why? Because what 214B means is that a visa officer is told to believe that you are going to immigrate to the US, and it will be your job to convince them that you do not intend to stay for permanently, even if you have an intent, but your job is to tell them that you have no intention and you are wanting to go to the US, study for your masters, return to your home country, and have the skills to enable you to get a better job. So now your job is to convince them, because by default they are thinking while they are interviewing you, you will never going to come back. So how you could talk to them about it? When you tell them that, when you convince them that I am going to coming to back, I'm going to come back to India, because then you talk about your family ties, social, emotional, employment, as well as your economic ties. So remember, if you do not get the visa, your visa has been denied under 214B section. Okay, and then I have the whole list of documents which are required you to take, and I'm gonna email that everybody, this documents which you need to take with you when you go. This is how the visa consulate looks like. So you have the different booth, and you have a waiting center where you sit, and then the visa officer, just like you nowadays go on MACD's and see that your number has been called, and then you go, just like you go to the different booths where you see visa officers are sitting. Okay, and your job is to tell them, talk to them. This is how a visa officer is talking to a student about, and a student, this is how a visa officer sits like. You could see in the next slide that a visa officer is interviewing and a student is smiling. So when you smile and you talk, it shows that you're confident, your 70% job has been done. But let me tell you this 30% which remains has a more higher weightage. Once you go about it, you guess the visa. Guess the visa, you see your picture in there. Okay, now what are the general questions they ask you about the visa? Okay, so why you want to go to the school in the US? So before I take the visa Q&A session, I want to tell you one thing which you got to remember now, that what four basic parameters are they looking in you? An honest student? Are you going to be a serious student? Do you really have the seriousness about studying in the US? Have you ever given the exam? Did you apply to multiple universities? Stuff like that. Do you have sufficient fundings and you have the sufficient ties? So let's think how this questions, whatever they ask you, which I'm going to discuss you here. I'm going to tell you what do you think is required by the visa officer, and you think that honesty, seriousness, the sufficient funding, as well as the trying to tell them to convince them to come back home. Why do you want to go to school in the US? The expectation is that you talk about yourself a little bit, and then you talk about about US, why you plan, why you have chosen this as a as your destination, study destination. For which school are you applying? So he wants to know whether you have studied about the university, studied about the different things about the university. If you're changing your major, so your bachelor's was commerce and now you're going for computer science, then you gotta convince them why did you change your major. It could be how did you find this university? Please tell us why did you pick this school? How you intend to use the degree you obtained from the school. So they check this because they want to know that whether or not you have selected the best option for you. Why other schools, what other schools did you apply to or research? So this question is being asked to check your seriousness. If you have applied to multiple universities, why? Because when there are 4,634 universities, why do you think that this is the only option you have? So if you have applied to multiple I-20s, that's even better. Why did you decide not to continue there? Why you are not going to school in your home country? So that just the reason to check that what did you find better in the United States than for whatever course you're going is not in India. So the next question goes like, how is a degree from this university is going to better your economic position? So what kind of employment opportunities will be available for you? How much is your sponsor's bank statement? How are you going to fund your second year of education? So as I said that most of the students only show up with their first year of education. So they're always concerned about how you going to make it for the second semester, second, third, second year. Okay. Do you have documentation proof where the money has come from? Honestly, students, when they apply, they think if I get a sufficient funding from any source, you would get the visa and the visa officer is never going to know about it. Each visa officer interview about 1,000 students in a day, and they have been doing this since 3 years to 5 years now. So you think that somebody who has sitting in front of you is a fresher, probably it could be his first or the second visa interview. They are not allowed to sit at this place until they trained by and for many years, trained by the trainers and for many years. So even if you just move your eyeballs, they know this that you are lying or you are telling them the truth or you're hiding from something from them. And always remember that your information should be very much relevant with what is mentioned on your DS 160 form as well as on your I-20. So sometimes your program length says is going to last for 36 months. And they ask you, so how long your program is going to last? And because you know that it's going to be it's going to be for 24 months, but because it is mentioned in your I-20 on 36, so even 70% of the students, and I'm sure that 70% in this on this webinar as well, you have not even read your 3 page of I-20 clearly. What does it says? You know that on a page 2 you have many clauses which talks about the terms and the condition of the CVs. You never read it. How you could be called as a serious student if you do not even know that what your acceptance letters talk about? So I want you to read it before you go, Because if you tell them anything which is not relevant with what is mentioned on your DS 160, what is relevant on your I-20, that's one of the biggest reason you do not even get the visa, and you wonder about, hey, I did a good job, why did my visa got rejected? The reality is because you did not even read the documents. You have written as a reference is somebody's number, or somebody else has filled your DS 160 form, and your permanent address does not even match with the passport. Are you lying? Are you hiding something? So it should be very much relevant with whatever you have. If you have any relative in the US, talk about it. Okay? So you guys make sure that you should talk about the GRE, the GMAT, the TOEFL, the IELTS, what your future plannings are. And once you do that, your visa has been approved. But honestly, right after your visa has been approved, you have to prepare for one more visa interview. That's not a visa, but that's a CBP interview. So you know that the ACVP, which is Student Exchange Visitor Program, they are tracking the 28 million non-immigrant visitors to the US every year. So you think that you got a visa, then I can go, carrying half documents with me and I will be allowed to enter in the United States. So that's not true. So make sure that once you receive your visa, you show us. We're gonna tell you that what documents which you need to carry on, and you could be even sent back home after having a valid visa from the US port of entry. And that's not going to be good for you. So once you have a visa, we will talk about that what documents is to be required for you to travel. Let's talk about the visa tips. Do not forget to talk about your home country. What ties do you have? So let's say if anybody is going for computer science, talks if you do not even talk about that, what are you going to get here? I mean, no visa. Be concise. So one of my student who received the visa yesterday, I wanted her to be here today to share her experience, but unfortunately her phone is switched off from this morning. She got the visa, and when I interviewed her day before yesterday, her visa was going like blah 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 blah, and she was not even stopping for 2 minutes. So when I asked her why you want to go to US, she told me the whole story for the next 2 minutes, and I wondered that if you be this long, they're not there to listen to your story. You have to be concise. You gotta know what you're trying to tell them. It just you can't talk about everything to them. You gotta be confident. So instead of you come, well, I want to go to. That's not something that you're confident about. So if you're not even confident to the visa officer, how would you be confident talking to the professors in future about? Speak for yourself. Honestly, when you have a reason of going to the US, I won't tell you to make a story, but tell them the true story. Why did you decide to go? What are you going to get? Don't give them general information because they already know this. If you say, well, US education system is considered one of the top education system, it provides the theoretical as well as practical knowledge, so I've chosen to go to US. See, they already know this. Why are you telling them this? They want to know, why did you select? What's gonna be your part in it? How are you going to get the benefit out of it? So let's talk about giving them a specific, concise information, and you speak for yourself. So don't talk about others. Talk about what you're gonna do with it. Maintain a positive attitude. So sometimes they have some parameters to check. Well, I did not hear about this university. Oh, this university looks like a blacklisted. And you feel like, oh, really? Sorry, sir. I think I did not know this. That means you have not even done a great research about the university. But politely, you could say, well, I'm sorry. I hope that you might have listened about this university. But even if you did not, there could be more than 4,000 university, and it's hard for you to listen about every university. and you talk about why did you select your university. Convincing. So it just that your visa has been denied. One of the reason because you did not convince. Even you did a good job in telling them the answer, but no convincing. If there is no convincing, there is no visa. If you convince, you get the visa. So convincing is the biggest term here. So you did a good job. You told them that I'll come back home. I am a serious student. I'm an honest student. I appeared for my TOEFL. I have my score. I've got my GRE. I've got everything with me. I've got multiple I-20s. Even if your visa has been denied, you know the reason? Because you did a good job, but not the best job of convincing the visa officer about you will be coming back. And always know that because you have a future planning, you talk about your employment. That is it. Okay, don't be just nervous, just be yourself. A little personality goes away a long away. Okay, smile. Visa consulates don't get too many genuine smiles. So if you smile, if you show that you are being in an eye contact, okay, you're showing them you are confident, that looks good. Eye contact is considered as polite in the US. So you gotta be polite with them. Answer the questions honestly and completely. So whenever you started something, telling them, let's not stop in between. If your visa has been rejected, politely ask the visa officer if they could please provide you the three specific reasons why your case didn't meet the requirement visa standard. Typically, they'll provide you with their concern, and that can be help you to understand overcome a refusal if you qualify. So even if you do not get the visa, if you have a 214B, that means what? That you have even been given, you have not banned by the US visa officers that you cannot travel to the US in the next 10 years, which there are many students who get it because they produce the fake documents. But if you think that it's just that I was not able to convince the visa officer and I have a 214B in my hand, you could still apply. But when you think that the visa has been denied, it's just that you talk to them and say, hey, may I know the three specific reason about it? And I could come up with the best preparation. They might not tell you because they're not allowed to tell you, but honestly, they gotta tell you if you speak to them in a very polite manner that I think your finance was leaking. And next time you go with the finance. So consider, do not, and I understand that because being a student, I did this as well, but fortunately, I got my visa in the very first attempt, or else I would have looked like, nah, I never want to go in this country. They don't give me the visa. I'm a good student. I would have felt dejected. I would have felt depressed that, oh my gosh, why I couldn't get the visa. But honestly, it's just the practice, it's just the preparation. If you really have thought of going to the United States, you will go to the United States. But it just that consider yourself going for the visa interview one more time, thinking about you're climbing a tree. When you tried you couldn't make it, next time you tried was you were you were doing good, you couldn't make it, but third time when you did, you made it, and now you learn about it. It's just that what you do when you never thought of speaking English, but you started, you did it, now you're doing a good job. Similarly, when you go for the visa interview, trust me, okay, trust me, if you just convince, you get it. Okay. For visa refusal, if you do not get the visa, no problem. Write your visa transcripts. Ask us where did you lack in your interview. Gather new information, change your profile, attend visa interview again. That's it, and you will get it. Do not forget that if you apply to some other country, probably they give you a specific reason that you are changing your major, you have no finance, we do not see that you will come back. That's the reason we are denying your visa. US visa is different. They don't tell you the reason of rejection. But if you write it down and send us, probably we could look at it and can say that probably you gotta work on this thing. Okay? Questions. So guys, you can see the question chat box. I'm more than happy to answer. If you had any problem, just write me down. I'm not gonna take many questions today because I have got another session at 1. So whatever you have in just about 3 minutes, you write it down. I share my ideas and concern with you, and we are done for the session today. Okay, so I got one question. Rachit Sharma, I did not appear for GRE. Does it make any difference? See, GRE is good to have. If you have, that's even preferred. But there are a couple of students who, even after having a GRE 300, they don't get the visa. So GRE is good. It's just one parameter to show that you are serious. You have enough quant and verbal abilities. You tried your best. It's look like that you are a serious student. But if you do not have a GRE, you could still tell them. Let's say the student who got the visa yesterday had no GRE, but she had 7 IELTS and her percentage in the bachelor's was 73. She was going for MBA. She told me, Abby, sir, can you help me? I have no GMAT. I said, tell the visa officer that if they ask you that, do you have a GMAT? Say, I don't have a GMAT because I couldn't appear. I did not appear because I've got a waiver from the visa officer because I've got 7 from the university because I had 73% on my bachelor's degree and I've got 7 IELTS. It's just something next thing. Okay, Rutvik. University is the main reason for refusal. They really don't ask if you given any exam or not. University is the main reason of refusal? That was a question mark. They really don't ask if you given any exam or not. See, they could ask you any question, Ratvik. They could reject you on the basis of GRE. They could reject you on the basis of university. They could reject you the basis you're talking to the visa officer. It could be anything. Is it okay to mention if you are holding multiple I-20s? It is wonderful, wonderful, Praveen, if you talk about it. So getting back to Rutvik question one more time. University is the main reason for refusal. Of course, university can never be the reason of rejection. It's just that how you put it. Reason being that whichever university you are going is been authorized by the CVS department. It has been authorized by the Department of Homeland Security to issue the visa. Before this, they go for several tests, several accreditations. So every university in the US has at least a CVS authorization to release an I-20. If a US government has authorized the university about it, it couldn't be a bad university. But you have different accreditation. So some are good with the national, some has a regional accreditation, some has a WACSC, some has, and every university has ACICS. Okay, so it's just that whatever you talk about, I have a EPC because my university require EPC. Whether your university require a GRE or no GRE, EPC or no EPC. When you say that I have a EPC and my requirement, university requirement was EPC, that means you intentionally never wanted to go to write GRE and that's the only reason you applied to the school. See, it's important for you to learn this, okay? That if you are going to talk about this university, whichever university you are going, you will need to tell them that a genuine reason about studying in this university. If you tell them that, well, I'm applying to this university because they only required EPC and it was available with me, that means you have not done a fair job with yourself and with this university about thinking on going in this university. Okay, so please make sure, can you send this presentation? When I'll send everybody this presentation. Okay, and then I've applied for only one university. Again, what are the consequences? Even if you have the one I-20, see, the reason behind asking you about the multiple I-20 is to check your seriousness. Please understand, multiple I-20s is equal to more serious student rather than one I-20 is equal to less serious student. But even if you have one I-20, you still talk about 5 different university which you looked for. That's okay if you haven't got anything, you have only one I-20, but if you have 5 I-20s with you as well, you're doing a good job. if you are giving a right answer, so why they reject visa? That just because you have done a good job but you have not convinced them. How to find accreditation of the university college? Ratvik, if you go to the website, you get to know everything. At every university you would see an accreditation link. It could be a tab, just like you see academic admission, home, about us, the find the staff and stuff, and then you see, or you go on every university search window and write accreditation, you get it. My marks in the correspondence bachelor's is in third division. How do I prove that I'm good student since I was working when I appeared for the BA exam? That's a very good question, Banish. I really appreciate that you have brought this up. See, if a student has or could not do well in the exam, that could be the finance, I mean the bachelor's thing, right? In your bachelor's exam, that means that you're not a serious student, honestly. If you have multiple backlogs, or if you have multiple backlogs, or if you have a third division, but even if you can convince the visa officer about it by doing one single thing, which is if you could talk to the visa officer and tell them that although I was having a third division, but I was good in this. After all, you've been working. Did you make any presentation? Did you make any project in your school, college days? If you did that, if you had that thinking of doing something different than what everybody is doing, you got to prove that. So I have had a student who had at least 20 backlogs. But in his 20 backlogs, visa officer asked, why did you have this many backlogs? He said, I was not good at the academic initially, but honestly, I was working on a huge project about a telemedicine which could change the entire healthcare system in India. And that talks about how I could, connect the doctors from the urban areas to the doctor from the rural areas. And I have that model which I brought today for you if you want to have a look. It talks about how, on a minimum cost, we can provide the better healthcare administration system to the people who are in the rural areas. They don't get the good healthcare services. You won't believe this. Right after hearing this, visa officer has approved the student's visa because everybody is doing good at the academic. But if you are not doing good at the academic, you still have a chance to talk to them and tell them. And see, again, as I said, this was something which convinced the visa officer like anything. Sir, may I have the recording of this session? Neeraj, yes, you will. Okay. How can you change your profile? Okay. I will ask this. How can you change your profile? I'm gonna tell this answer to you if you attend the visa interview in the next session, because I'm going to talk about changing the profile thing. Multiple bank statement a problem while going with financial statement to the visa officer? No. You could have 10 bank statements together, but you should have a summarized CA report at the same time. When you have this, you compile all 10 of them together, but you should have a cover letter from the CA as well. You tell them, and you should have a bank history. What do they like about it? If you at least show them a 1 month or a 3 months of payment history, because the visa officer want to make sure that this payment has come, and it's honestly has come from the real source. Okay, so tell me, what is the disadvantage of studying in European university, Australian and Canadian university? How about you research this and tell me, even asking me to tell you? That's the problem with most of the students, that they think that they should get a ready plate to eat the stuff, but they never want to cook something, or they never want to learn about it. Okay, but anyway, I'm going to tell you the answer, but always remember that's something which you ask your trainer, you better research about it, because when you research, then you have an idea about it. When you know from me, you have only one idea about it, which I know about it. So always don't expect that you'll get a visa of doing nothing. You got to do something, and it's nothing. Just research about everything. So I'm going to share the presentation, but you go through the question, you research about studying in the US could be why better. Okay, so let me tell you the disadvantages of studying in the European and Australian and Canadian university. One of the biggest thing which you get here is the flexibility of the program. Okay, in the US. Okay, so you could still complete your degree in 2 to 3 years, 3 to 4 years. You're a great degree. Honestly, you could do that. Even if you want to do that in 1 year, you could do that. Now you would say Australia and Canadian also offer the same thing, but you could talk about, because honestly there is no disadvantages of studying in the other countries. It's just that you are rating them, that why this one is better than this, or why you thought is better than this. Probably Canada could be more suitable for you, Benish, than going to the US. But if you're going to US, you got to talk about why it is better than not others. But it's not that it's good and those are bad. It's everything is good, but it is more good than the other ones. That's what you need to explain them. So what you could explain them, that because your intention is to come back home, and if you do it from the US, you get the highest exposure than any other country. So it means that you're not saying that you'll not get the exposure if you go and study in Australia or Canada, but you're saying that I am going to get the biggest. So intensity of getting the exposure is going to be higher. My ALT score is 5 and I have not given GRE GMAT any exam and get admission with conditional ESL visa. Officer asked me about it. Yes. If you have not given your IELTS score, I mean your slow, that's really again okay. You have intention of studying in the US, which you could talk to the visa officer about it. If it is conditional admission to the university, I told you this just now, that I'm going to talk to you about it. Even if it is a conditional admission to a university, you tell them the situation. Honestly, I'm here to tell you that whatever you have, whether you have a GRE, have a GRE, you have a 5 band, you have a 7 bands, you have a 1 I-20, you got 5 I-20s, you got anything, you got a direct admission, you got a conditional admission. Something which I want to tell you, you get the visa when you only and only convince them about whatever situation you have it. Even if you have a 5 band, that means your English is not good. Even if your English is not good, with a tutti frutti English, if you still talk to the visa officer and tell them that, well, I'm not good at English, I cannot speak English, but my concern is, if I want to do my masters, I want to learn English first, and that's why I applied to ESL and I've gotten the admission. That's it. So I have one I-20. I could not get 5 I-20, but I've researched about 5 university. So anything which you do, you gotta convince them. You convince them, you get the visa. Thank you so much for listening to me today. I've got back-to-back session. I'm happy that you are going for the visa interview. Study Metro help and ask everyone to prepare better yourself. Talk to me one on one. I'm just telling you this, that whoever is your contact person, tell them to book a time, an appointment when I can talk to you one on one on your questions. Even if you are a fresh or a denial students, I would be more than happy to talk to you one on one with your profile. Before that, you make sure that you take the visa interview, watch all the videos, and fill the visa questionnaires. I sometimes wonder when I send the visa questionnaires and students write me, why you want to go US to do MBA? Why this university? Because it's in California. If you tell me this, I am never ever going to understand about your background. How could I tell you the answer then? So you better prepare yourself. Honestly, whether you have a GRE, no GRE, 1 I-20, 5-20, 5 band, 8 band, whatever you have, but if you could just tell the visa officer about whatever your situation are, why are you going to study, what are you going to get, why are you going to come to India, what are you going to get in India, you will get the visa. When a student with 20 backlogs can get the visa, that means anybody in this world can get the visa for the US for study. So I'm sure that you have no bad profile. Whatever your situation is, you got to talk to this about it. I'm having 3 years of working experience in operation. Does this help me for me for the? Of course. Talk about it. Talk about whatever you have. Okay. Thank you so much. Thanks a lot, sir. Thank you so much, everyone. Again, all the best. Do your well. If you want to talk to me one on one with your questions, if you do not get a chance to write the question over here, write me directly. I'm going to talk to you one on one. Thank you so much. Have a good one. I hope you enjoyed this one. And next time, I am bringing an immigration lawyer who is going to talk about it to you, to whom you could share your ideas, talk to him about it. It's not going to be later than next week. So, next week, you will get a call from one of our representative who's going to talk to you about and share the new information. You could just attend the visa interview. He is an immigration lawyer, has worked with international students from ages from the entire world, more than 25 years of experience in the visa thing. I'm gonna bring that one for you for the next session. So we will notify about it. Thank you so much. Have a good one.